Paul experienced suffering that was so intense that he was almost ready to give up. Look at what he says here. I want to read from the Amplified. He said, we don't want you to be uninformed or brethren or ignorant about the affliction, the oppression, the oppressing distress which befell us in the province of Asia, how we were so utterly and unbearably weighed down and crushed that we despaired of life itself. We were despairing of our own lives. It got so bad. It got so tough. Indeed, he says, we felt within ourselves that we had received the very sentence of death. We were going to die. But that was to keep us, I like this part here, that was to keep us from trusting in and depending on ourselves, instead of on God who raised the dead. Hallelujah. That was to keep us, God, that's to keep us from depending on the arm of flesh and leaning on the arm of flesh, depending on what was within us. And it calls us to trust God. Because even if they killed us, we trust God to the degree that we know He can raise the dead. Hallelujah. Even if they kill, listen, that's the attitude Abraham had. When Abraham took Isaac up to the Mount Moriah, and Isaac said, Father, he said, I see the wood and what you've got to start the fire with and everything, but where's the sacrifice? And Abraham said, son, God will provide a sacrifice. Before he even saw or heard the ram in the bush, he said, God's going to provide a sacrifice. Don't you worry about that. Abraham even had faith. Listen, the kind of faith Abraham had was this. Even if he had to go all the way to the extent and raise a knife to thrust into his own son, he knew that God had already promised him that son. That son was not going to die some way, somehow. That son, even if God raised him back from the dead after he was slain by the hand of his own father, he knew, glory to God, he knew that God would raise him from the dead. That's the kind of faith Paul is exhibiting here. We thought our life, it was going to cost us our life, and Paul said, but look here. It calls us to trust God because God can raise the dead. Hallelujah. Glory to God. Bless His name. So, God doesn't shelter His people from trials. He will be with us in it. He'll sometimes bring us through, but He doesn't shelter us from them. Not even gifted apostles, like the Apostle Paul, are exempt when they're doing His will. And listen, let me tell you this. If you are actually really doing the will of God or seeking the will of God, searching God's plan for your life, you are going to face persecution to some degree or another. There's going to be persecution. That's going to happen. And so, John Watson, he said, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle. That hit me. That's the first time this week I read that quote. And I said, I got to include that in my notes Sunday. That thing hit me right here. Be kind. Be kind. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle of some kind. Everyone is. You know, it's difficult to our natural mind, our natural way of thinking. It's difficult when you see these things like, you know, one of my main sources of news is money. She's always sending me something because I'm on the road and stuff, and I'm not, and so she has time to sit down on the phone. She's over there sometimes. She'll look at these, get these news things. Sometimes on Facebook, sometimes there are other news sources, but she'll send these things. She checks her sources pretty good now too, and we usually try to check our sources to make sure they're accurate. And she'll send me this on a little messenger. And so I don't. Sometimes at the end of the day, before I get home, before I can even read it. But I know she sent me something. And so she's one of my primary news sources. I can trust her. Maybe you need to make her one of your primary news sources. And but anyway, she'll send me these things. And she sent me a story, even though I was at the house. She sent me a story yesterday about this, the little girl who was trapped in a house. Her dad had died. I didn't read it but headlines, so I didn't read the whole story until she told me later. Trapped in a house, her dad had died. He died from natural causes, or
she was 6 years old.
She was 6.
Her father and her stepmother
Yeah.
were both drug addicts.
Yeah, both of them were drug addicts. And her mother was strung out, her stepmother was strung out, wasn't even aware of anything going on. The dad had died, and the pit bull was eating the dad's face off.
Carrying water to throw on, trying to wake them up.
You know what saved the little girl? Facebook. Somehow, 6 years old, somehow she managed to get a message out on Facebook. And the police went there and rescued that little girl. Now, you know, that's troubling to me. Those situations, and look, there's some that even, believe it or not, even worse than that, and or similar to that. That's tragic, and that really, you know, it stings you when you hear about things like, and you see things like that. But we, you know, God is the only comfort in situations like that can be found. Really, God's the only comfort. He's the only source of comfort, and you know, everyone. I said that because I was headed that way with this. We don't understand. Listen, it's tragic this mother strung out on drugs and was oblivious to everything. It's tragic this man was on drugs, and that's probably what helped to kill him. Probably OD'd or something. That's tragic. But listen, and we see things like, we see these stories about this mother who hung her. How old was the child? No, this one I read. No, this one I read just this week where this mother hung her child. I can't remember how, but the child was. It may have been, or a daycare. So I can't remember now of the whole story. But anyway, she had hung this child, and she's sitting in court crying, and they patting her on the shoulder. And my initial response is, "Why are you comforting her?" You know, but that's the natural response. But the spiritual response is, however tragic it is, this woman was fighting a battle. This woman